a little about me. Unlike the activation teams that Tim just referenced, I'm actually a radio person who evolved into digital. So I worked in promotions, I worked on air, I worked as a music director. I had the great opportunity to become the urban and rhythmic editor for Radio and Records. And most recently, I worked at a radio company where I handled the strategy for digital and also helped different personalities help expand their social platforms. But right now, I'm focused on monetizing and managing the social and digital platforms for different celebrities. And I just want you all to know, everything that I'm going to show you, some of these tactics have been applied to different personalities, but they all have helped their platforms generate revenue. So a lot of times when we think about making money, we think that there's something different we have to do, but if you really keep engagement high and focus on what your audience wants and responds to, you can definitely monetize your digital platforms while being true to who you are. So before you start the whole ideation process, it's really important to figure out what are your objectives? What are your KPIs? What is it that you're trying to do? Do you want to go viral? That's a really bad objective to have because there's so many external factors that play a part in going viral, and it's really broad and hard to quantify what can make any one piece of content go viral. Definitely keep in mind, is it reach on social? Are you trying to generate website traffic? Are you trying to get more people to opt into a newsletter? Just figure it out what it is that you're trying to do and start from there. And a lot of times we feel like we need to be on every social platform. And you absolutely should create an account for every social platform, but all of them don't matter as much as others do. Facebook doesn't sound sexy because it's been around so long and it's so ubiquitous, but the fact of the matter is there's more than 1 billion people there and it's still growing. Instagram is amazing for young audiences because so many young people interact there, but if you're really focused on driving website traffic, it's not effective simply because you don't have links in the respective posts. Snapchat is tremendous for younger people, but if you've noticed, Instagram has done a really good job about replicating some of its most popular features. So with Instagram, you tend to have a bigger following than you do on Snapchat, while you have, and it's even more impressive because your engagement's higher and people are just more active there. And be realistic about your resources. A lot of radio companies have one person managing an entire market. So don't expect that one person to create all of the content. Really get your personalities involved because a lot of times their instincts are so on point. Their ideas can really help you connect with listeners because they're the ones who are engaging with them the most. So don't just look at talent as talent. Get ideas from them because a lot of times obviously they're very creative people and you can probably get some ideas that can help your brand win if you just listen to the talent and get them to help you create the content. A lot of times, as far as brands are concerned, we like to look at what BuzzFeed's doing or some of these huge digital-only platforms, but you can't. I mean, we don't focus on digital. Digital is an enhancement and it should be a part of everything that we do, but we simply don't have teams of 30 people creating content for social the way a lot of these other brands do. So look at what you do, look at the trends, always look for growth and see the things that resonate. And also, if you think that there's a particular philosophy or strategy that you've been doing for the last 5 years, that's bad because you should keep evolving. Social is constantly changing. They're constantly changing the algorithms. And if something you did before used to work, do something different. It's not you, it's not a poor reflection, it's just that they're simply changing the way your content is evaluated. So if you don't change, your content won't likely get the same engagement that it used to. One thing that has been a consistent win, as long as you don't overdo it, is birthdays. Wishing people a happy birthday, or anniversaries, those tend to do very well, especially if you do it early in the morning. It's just something positive, and I know social has a reputation for being negative, but people like to wish people well, say something nice, and share that, especially if you have a compelling picture, or let's say that artist came by the station. take that picture of the celebrity with the talent, put that on social media. It's just a good way to market your talent and also shout out a celebrity and hopefully get some engagement that way. So new music. With radio, there's a finite amount of space. However, online, it's infinite. A lot of times we forget about the local artists because unless they're huge, they're not generating the same type of conversation that some of the bigger celebrities are, but you're not necessarily trying to get everyone to engage with your content. You want to focus on the people in your market, the people who are already loyal to your brand, and people who could possibly care about your brand. When I was in Philadelphia, one of our biggest wins was a local hip hop group. We did an interview with them, and it drove tremendous traffic to our website. Why? Because they shared it. Now, when you get a major artist, they're not gonna share it on their social platforms because they're doing interviews all the time. But this interview meant a lot for them. And their followers and fans care about them, and they know your brand. So they shared it, and it really helped our content go viral in the place we needed it to, which was Philadelphia listeners who were engaged with our brand. So that was a great win for us. A lot of times there's songs that you believe in, or the program director or music director may be excited about, but it's not quite time to put it on the air. Put it on digital, because a lot of times it shows that you're up on what's next, you're up on what's new, so it feels like you're ahead of the curve, and it also gives a hipness factor to the younger listeners who might not engage with radio or even listen very much. And then also, a lot of times there are songs that are starting to get a buzz and starting to go viral, even though it may not fit your format. Put it on your website anyway. It may actually do well. Interviews. We're very selective about interviews when it comes on to the on-air space, but you don't have to be when it comes to digital. Same philosophy when it comes to local artists and new artists that are on the rise. Talk to them. Don't just look at it as you giving them exposure. It really helps you from an SEO standpoint, which is search, where no one may be talking about this artist, but that artist may have a hit and blows up. But if you've been giving them attention on your websites, that'll only help you generate traffic and also expose people to your brand organically. Influencers. A lot of times we may not know or care about who an influencer is, but they're an influencer because they have an audience that really engages with whatever it is they're talking about. If they're into fashion, if they're into makeup, talk to them. You may not be a radio station that talks about makeup, but there are people who definitely engage with them and would become familiar with your brand because you're exposing them to people who are already massive in a particular space. And then web stars. A lot of times, these people who go viral, they have a story and they want to tell it. And they're interesting people, and even though you may not know their name, people a lot of times know the video. And again, if they get bigger, the fact that you've given them real estate on your website can help you in so many ways, because it's not content that everyone else is creating, but it's definitely something that people are talking about, and chances are they have a digital following that may help them, that may help your brand get more exposure. Challenges. This is my favorite, because the challenges always go viral. They always start with younger people who take something, turn it into a challenge, and make it huge. About 4 years ago, there was the Ice Bucket Challenge, and that was to bring attention to Lou Gehrig's disease. Then after that, there was the Mannequin Challenge, where a lot of people were just standing still and literally being mannequins. There was the Drake In My Feelings Challenge. That went viral as well. And don't feel like you have to focus on what everyone else is doing, but you can start your own challenge depending on what it is, something spectacular that may have happened in your on your station. Be creative. Don't feel like you have to wait for the internet to make something go viral before you kind of get something going. So here's an example of a radio station and also a personality, who took part in a challenge. So Ryan Seacrest is not a hip hop DJ, but it was a trend that was so big that he took part of it, and I thought it was pretty cool because it shows that he's still connecting to things that are relevant and trending. And also the station in Finland, they're a top 40 station, and the song that the song that was the basis of the challenge was a hip-hop song. So don't feel limited. Sometimes it's even funnier, like how amazing would it be for a country station to do the mannequin challenge with the hip-hop song in the background, or an oldie station. So just think, sometimes you going a little left won't make sense on the air, but in the digital space and online, it can totally turn into a win and help you be a part of a larger conversation that's already going viral. I think a lot of times when there are stations that are focused on females, we stay away from sports because, oh, that's going to turn off females. But the fact of the matter is there are women who like sports too. And it's not to say that you have to give full coverage to sports, but a lot of local high schools, mothers who may listen to your station, have kids who are college or high school athletes, and a lot of times they're not getting a lot of attention. But if you shout out kids who are in high school or even junior high, those are potential listeners, people that may be attracted to your brand because the first time they ever got an interview or the first time a social media platform shouted them out was your brand. And think about it, it's one thing for your friend to acknowledge you on social, but it's another thing when the local station that you love gives you attention. So take the time out to acknowledge those players of the week, or high school players that did something exceptional, or even if there was a big win for a team, even do like a high school sports team of the week. And it doesn't have to be just football or basketball. It can be volleyball or whatever. Be creative, show them love, and a lot of times that'll build loyalty that lasts a lifetime. And same thing with college. People are very passionate about their college teams, and if you give some love to the local teams, there's no telling how your content may go viral, because literally every Saturday, Sunday, and even if I'm not aware of paying attention to it's Thursday night football, I'll see so much engagement on, with some of the trend trackers that I have that send me alerts. It's like I automatically know that there's a sports game going on just simply because there's so much engagement when it comes to college sports on social media. And list. A lot of times you don't see a lot of teens getting attention. You'll see like a top 40 under 40, people who are really doing something impactful in your community. But when you're young and when you're in high school, those acknowledgments matter. Those are things that people include in their college applications. So sometimes shout out teens who are active in the community, teens who are active on social, teens who are doing something positive, because again, that can help young people build a lifelong loyalty to you and your brand. And top 20 under 20 is a good one as well. Couples. A lot of times, kids love to take pictures of themselves. This is the selfie generation. You can create contests where you have people submit, people who they think are the cutest couples. Those tend to draw a lot of engagement because you're drawing people back to a website to look at a gallery or something like that. But people like to see themselves. Valentine's Day, that's a great time to encourage people to submit their cutest couples, and anytime actually, because again, people love to see themselves and love being in love. A lot of the subcultures have a very huge community, even though that may not be what you focus on. Sneaker culture is something that's huge, and it's not specific to any one genre or format, but it's a youth thing, it's a younger and millennial thing. So sneaker drops, like they have release dates for sneakers. Sometimes mention that on your social media. That'll definitely engage people. And sometimes when you do things that you're not typically doing on the air, it's like, oh wait, wow, I didn't know they were into that. I didn't know they knew about that. So it really makes you feel cooler than they may give you credit for being. And skateboard culture is huge as well in almost every city. So definitely shout out some skaters or talk about some things that relate to that culture every now and then. Best dressed. There's a lot of fashion bloggers. There's so many people who are engaged in fashion and literally will post pictures of themselves daily or weekly with the different outfits that they have. When it's back to school, just follow the hashtag back to school. You'll find so many people who want to show off what they wore on Instagram, and just pull from there, send them back to your website to see that. When it's homecoming, take pictures or, crowdsource the different photos that people are putting on social media, put it on your website and send people to see like some of the best dressed homecoming couples. Same thing with prom, just a great opportunity to get people to see themselves and to engage in your platforms in the process. And shout out schools. A lot of times a school may achieve the best academically, or there may be something good that happened, or this school may have had 5 people accepted to Harvard. Be creative and just recognize that things that may seem insignificant aren't necessarily, because they matter to the people who follow you, who engage with you. So the more you acknowledge them in an organic way, the more return you can get from them potentially listening to your stations. And stay engaged. A lot of times on social media, it's a one-way conversation where we keep talking to them, we keep posting content, telling them to come to our websites and engage with our content. But you have to remember, if they're talking to you, they want to hear back from you. A lot of times they'll ask very direct questions. And I found that a lot of the negativity comes from people seeing if they can get a reaction. So if you just would talk back to them, it's usually disarming, because it's like, oh wait, I didn't know there was anyone responding to this. And it's harder when you're a brand because there's not a face to it. Get your personalities to talk to people while they're on the air. Let the promotions director jump on. Let the program director jump on every now and then to see what people are talking about. Keep it open, but don't ignore the people who are following you, because ultimately they cared enough to take the time to comment. So take the time to talk back to them. And also sometimes just liking a comment or giving it a happy face or a laughing emoji, that means a lot to them. So just definitely don't ignore them. And then the people who are really cool and interesting or really loyal about posting, follow them back. That means a lot, because sometimes you'll see people take a screenshot of the follow and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person or this brand followed me. And if you need help, I'm Darnella, and that's how you can reach me. And again, if you do these steps, and again, not everything works for everyone, but if you kind of think outside the box and do things differently, you can definitely keep your engagement high on social and ultimately translate it into revenue just by being yourself, just by creating content that makes sense for your brand. So please reach out if you have any questions, or actually, can I ask a question?
Yeah, we got time for questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
I know, I was wondering, with the subcultures, what other ones are there that you can see for different different stations?
So bike culture is also big. So sometimes people are really into their motorcycles. Sometimes people are actually into riding bicycles in really creative and dangerous ways. It's kind of, a lot of times we focus on our content, but look at your followers and see what it is that they're addressing on social, because that'll expose you to some things too. And it's not so much a subculture, but even movies and TV. Also when TV shows are on, live tweet like those shows that people are talking about, or even those shows that might be a little left but are kind of cool and you want to connect with the audience. Live tweet, because that's a great way to jump into an organic conversation with people who are very passionate. Yes.
Good morning, Darnella. I'm Kevin Felder from Millennial FM in Columbia, South Carolina. I've been following your journey throughout the year, so it's great to hear from you. Great presentation today.
Thank you.
I do have a question regarding the balance between providing some of this content on air or online and actually generating revenue from it. Like, how much do you sponsor some of these opportunities, or are you just saying, hey, we'll create this content and then just hopefully over time the revenue will come another way?
That's a great question. So I found that a lot of people are very aggressive on Instagram, but you can't make any money off of Instagram. And when I say make money, I'm talking about the natural tools that social media platforms provide. So with YouTube, you can monetize your platforms. If you take that same video that was on Instagram and rip it and put it on YouTube, you're making money. You're not requiring the talent of the station to do any more except for put it on that other platform. Also, Facebook has an amazing tool that not a lot of people are using, but it's called Instant Articles. So what Instant Articles does, it's literally taking the content that you post on your website and it's monetizing that. So instead of focusing on content, it rewards you for creating quality content, and you're not doing anything except for posting on Facebook, which is something most people would do anyway. And it literally, depending on how the engagement is, it gives you a CPM. I was beyond excited because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just focused on quality content. But when Instant Articles started, some of my counterparts were getting about $30 to $200 a week. I was getting $3,000 a week on the low, and sometimes even as much as $8,000. And this is money where I'm not having to do any additional work. It's extra money for the company, and it's simply by taking content that's already on your website, and it's automatically feeding into Instant Articles. Some people are simply going to want to connect with people on Instagram because that's where a lot of advertisers want to be. For example, one of the stations I'm familiar with, they were actually losing revenue because the clubs didn't want to advertise on the air anymore. They just were going directly to the talent to get on their Instagram accounts. Being active, being engaged, and being focused on what you care about, if you're consistent with that, sponsors will recognize that. We had another personality who loved taking fashion selfies, and then ultimately sales pitched her to a client that wanted to connect to the fashion community. So the most important thing is to be who you are. Don't chase, oh my gosh, this is the hot new segment. Makeup blogs are big, so let me do that because everyone's doing that. No, do what you care about, and if you're consistent with it, that'll make a difference. Oh, and consistency is important too. At least once a day, post on social. And do it consistently, because if you just kind of abandon them and then come back to them a month later or weeks later, your content won't resonate. It won't get the same engagement. But if you post daily, it's kind of like working out or losing weight. If you do it daily, you'll see results. But if you do it sporadically, you can't expect miracles off of doing it every now and then. Thank you very much.